Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of
Let It Marinate.
Today, we're cooking with more food for thought than Gordon Ramsay. We're bringing more flavor than an episode of Guy's Grocery Games. We plan to leave you with enough leftovers to feed the homeless in all of Denver. But like any five-star cuisine, you gotta trust the process. Cook it low, cook it slow. Without further ado, no appetizers necessary. RJ, what's on today's menu?
Brother, I want to talk about work ethic in America.
Okay, but first, I said no appetizers. I didn't say no shots.
That's true. And what do we got today?
Today, shout out Patricia one more time. Thank you, Patricia. 5 points. Yo, this looks like garbage, bro. Literally, this is called 99 bananas.
This is what I thought we were drinking last time.
I got 99 problems.
But this liquor ain't one.
I think it might be, bro. It might be. My man. Shout out 5 points, our local liquor store. Thank you, Patricia. Hooking it up once again. Let's go.
Oh! That was not as smooth as root beer.
No, root beer was way smoother.
It does taste like a runt, though. The banana runt.
I still want ice cream.
You know? A banana split.
Split?
Can we go get all of them and mix them?
Yeah, mix them up.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, that wasn't that bad. I think...
I
might be an alcoholic. Bro. I'm pretty sure this was less than $1, bro. Yeah, I fuck with it. Okay, so boom, real quick. So we want to talk about work ethic in America.
Yes, sir.
That's what you brought up. What do you mean specifically?
I'm gonna say it right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think there's a drop in work ethic in America.
When?
Good question. Because I think every generation says this.
Okay.
Right? Well, my parents, my grandparents, their whole generation, they all said there is a drop in work ethic. They go, I can't believe where the country's headed with this new generation, right?
Back in my day.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there is a lot to break down here with work ethic because it is not just a small issue. It covers a lot of different spectrums, and I'm excited to talk about these things.
Now, touch on like let the people know kind of where we come from in terms of what we did in our careers and what we experienced.
Yeah. So very good point. Because also at the same time, we have a smaller, maybe more narrow view of what work ethic is to us, right? Because we've pretty much been in the same kind of job sector for our entire careers.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, yeah, I mean...
Retail.
It's retail, yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't want to say it, I didn't want to say it. But yeah, it's retail. Yeah. It's retail.
Drug dealer.
Nice. But yeah, and even me working in Chicago, there was a lot of hard-working dudes out there and ladies. And then coming to Denver, there might be something going on there, but I feel like people aren't working as hard. And I want to talk about why.
Yeah, let's break that down.
I also want to define what work ethic is.
How about you want us to work harder, pay us more?
Yeah.
Right? So, I would think work ethic is not necessarily the person that works late and sweats their ass off, even though that's kind of what we think about when we think of work ethic. There's a lot more to work ethic.
You're talking about productivity.
Being exactly
what you put in.
Exactly right.
Out.
So, for example, when you go home, do you sit down on the couch and watch TV all day? Because I'll do this too. I'll sit out on the patio for hours, especially when it's beautiful out.
But
right?
your point is do you do dishes? Do you mow the lawn? Do you wash your car?
Right. What are you filling that time with between being at work and going back to work tomorrow?
Oh, so your take on work ethic as a whole is not just in the workplace. It's you as a person? Is that
that's a good way to put it, right?
Okay.
Because maybe you've got a family and you've got to work not just to provide for the family financially, but you've got to make sure that there's not just food on the table, but you have to find ways to get that food, whether you got to cook it or you got to go buy it. You might be busy doing something. And I think those kind of things are work ethic. Being like, hey, I'm tired of living messy.
I can't even say there's a pathway.
So
Right.
I got to clean when I come home. I got to make sure I do these 5 things every day when I come home. I have dogs. I don't have any kids. But at the same time, I have to make sure that they get sufficient enough time outside and going to the bathroom and eating their food and attention. So there's things other than just being at work.
Okay.
But I want to talk about both of those.
Cool. How do you want to get into this?
Well, we interviewed a former teacher. Her name is Melissa. And we kind of asked her opinions on what work ethic means to her and if she's noticed a decline in work ethic. And the reason that we asked Melissa these questions is because I really want to get perspective from a generation above me, someone who can see people from like, you know, the early 1900s all the way up to now, right? So when you talk about her parents, grandparents, and even great-grandparents, and then she was a teacher, so we can get the future generation as well.
So just to like simplify it, she's how old is she? What generation?
So she was born in 70.
Okay.
Right?
She was born in 70.
Uh-huh.
So she's in her, what is that, 50s?
I don't think she would appreciate that.
But you don't say that.
But perspective. My bad, Melissa.
I'm pretty sure she just
look
turned
great.
30.
She looks like it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You brought it back.
So you and I are in our early 30s, like very early 30s, and we're talking to a generation from before, right? So, okay, so Melissa, what did she bring to the table? What was the takeaway that you had from Melissa?
Well, we're going to get into Melissa. We're going to watch what Melissa had to say.
Let's do that.
But I think overall, Melissa doesn't quite agree with me.
Okay, what?
I think her opinion overall is that work ethic hasn't changed. Work has changed.
Yeah, and I'm conflicted because I feel like I agree with like both of you. I feel like work ethic has definitely changed. It's just not what we think of it anymore. Like when I think of work ethic, I'm like showing up early, staying late, sweating, like grinding it out.
Because that's what we live.
But now, like me and you grew up before all of this, computers, internet, Wi-Fi, technology, all these things, right? Did that have an impact on work ethic?
I'm sure it had to.
Yeah, we can get into that too. What did Melissa's? What was her takeaway on like?
Let's get into it.
Let's get into the video.
Yeah,
let's do that.
So let's watch what Melissa had to say, and we're gonna kind of break down her ideas here.
You went to work, you did what the boss said, and you complained about it when you got home.
I want to talk about that. Like, that's kind of dope, too. She was like, you worked hard, and then you complained when you got home.
Yeah, you saved it. Hold it in, bro.
There's like a whole, like, HR is like a whole department now because people complain in the workplace.
Yes, sir.
Right? Like, people, like, you and I have been in management long enough to, like, we've taken call-outs. Right, from
the call out rate, yeah.
What about, but not even the rate. What about the, like, just the excuses as a whole? Like,
yeah, you're absolutely right. So I'll tell you guys this.
Yeah, go.
Being on the receiving end of somebody calling out from work, I don't ask no questions.
No, we don't care.
No, all I need you to say
I'm
is,
not showing up today.
I am calling out
And
today.
we go, okay.
I will put it down. Got it.
Yeah.
But instead, we get excuses like, my hemorrhoids are acting up. I got that.
Yeah.
Literal, all 4 tires went flat last night. Literally got that.
Got that one.
My dog died. My dog died again.
I have cancer.
And this guy's dog died again.
Wait, his, what was it?
His carotid artery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that what this one is?
Yeah.
This artery right here.
This is all the same. Now, we're not shitting on this one person. Like, but we took multiple call-outs for multiple years. And it's so crazy because it's like, number one, you could have just been like, hey, I'm not coming. And we'd have been like, okay.
Okay.
But also, like, I guess what she's saying is, like, back then, you just showed up and you talk shit later.
Right. You
You
vent
just showed
about
up.
it.
Yeah, you vent about it. You
Which,
don't
I
not
mean,
show up.
My wife and I do the same thing, right? When you had a stressful day, like you come home, and we actually had to kind of start asking each other, do you want advice or do you just want to vent? Because sometimes when you're stressed out like that, you don't really want someone telling you what you should do, you know?
Just listen.
It just, it pisses you off more to hear like, well, what you should have done.
Yeah.
You weren't there!
Yeah, you have no idea. But okay, let's keep going.
I was a teacher for 15 years. I taught 5th grade, 3rd grade, and 6th grade. I've also been a substitute teacher for the last year and a half. I've taught both in...
So she's seen all spectrums of age.
Yo, remember like when you had a substitute teacher?
Oh, the best day ever.
The best day. I remember one day I was like, I'm gonna bring a slingshot and I'm gonna hit her with like a marble.
I think we went to different schools, bro.
Oh, you guys brought guns? Chicago, right?
Yeah.
public schools, and I spent a year in a private school. I spent the beginning...
I'd be interested in this. Like, I wonder what like the main differences between public school and private schools in terms of work ethic was for her. Money. But what is money? But the kids don't know that though.
No, but the more money that you have to spend, the better quality education you're getting.
Yeah, that's what they tell us.
And really, what they're doing is
But it's
they're weeding out those bad kids.
Oh,
Right?
okay. So these were like the nerdy, dorky.
Entitled.
First 10 years of my career in the western suburbs of Chicago. The last few years of my career in the suburbs of Milwaukee. As far as work ethic goes, I would say my grandparents, I would say their generation was the World War II generation. Some people called that the greatest generation. One of the things that I remember specifically about my grandparents, very hardworking,
Yeah.
both
Industrialized.
my grandmothers.
They literally industrialized, and it also accelerated women in the workplace because all the men were over fighting. So they needed women in machine shops and warehouses to get shit done that the men were all overseas fighting for.
Eisenhower.
And my grandfathers both worked. I think that laid a foundation for my mother and my father, and for me, my sister. They believed if you worked hard, you could be successful. They believed...
Do you believe that? If you work hard, you'll be successful?
It's not black and white, right? Like, yeah, I mean, ideally, that was what they tell us. Is that what they teach us? I don't think so.
But do you feel that? Do you feel like if you go to work tomorrow and you work hard, you'll be successful?
Well, I mean, what is success, right? Like if you make a lot of money, are you successful? If I'm, some Hollywood celebrity, is that, and I'm making a bunch of money, and I'm on set, 7 days a week, and I'm filming movies and shows, and people look at it on the outside and they go, that's successful. Like, is it though? When you go home to a broken family, a broken relationship, drug abuse, substance abuse, like, I don't know what success is, right? But in terms of work ethic, I do believe if you work hard, like, good things will come out of that, right?
Well, maybe we break that down. What does success mean to you? What if, like, in your mind, because you work hard, I know you work hard. So what do you think is the point where you go, you know what, I am successful?
Yeah, I mean, it's layered, right? Like, there's so many things.
But you personally?
Yeah, even for me, it's layered, right? Like, success means a lot of things. Let me do this. Let me try this. Ready? That was amazing, by the way. That sound unbelievable. Yeah. That's success.
Great success.
We need some sponsors.
That's success.
Bro, I was successful. I'm about to be more successful. Let's go.
But for me, success is the thing that you can't, like, get instantly.
Okay.
Success takes time. It's like working out, right? Like,
It's almost like success takes hard work.
Imagine that. But and to further your point, like, for me, it's like it can't happen overnight. To me, I don't feel successful if I do something overnight. It's not truly successful. It's a marathon, not a sprint. For me, success is like health, happiness, self-confidence, job fulfillment, like all these things that you can't just like get on social media or like, yeah. To me, that's success. But I would ask you the same thing, what's success to you?
Yeah, I mean, success to me is being comfortable financially. I don't need to be rich, but I do want to make sure like I have retirement. Being able to spend enough time off is important to me.
Yeah.
To get away from the craziness and spend time with my family.
Yeah.
Being able to travel.
Yeah.
Would be successful to me. And it's like the American dream, right? Because the American dream isn't a house with a white picket fence. The American dream is what your dream is.
There were lots of opportunities to advance, to succeed. They were business owners, small business owners. And while they never made a ton of money, they provided a living for several families. My grandparents were employed. My mother was employed there, helped support her family. They never left a lot of money, to future generations, but during the time they were in business, they were able to comfortably support several families. It was instilled in me that you work hard, you put in your dues, you become successful that way.
I want to talk about that. What she said right there. She said, you work hard,
Yeah.
you put in your dues.
Yeah.
What are my dues to? Society? You put the work in and you get paid. I get that. That's a balance.
Again, it's
right?
not. It's one of those things where it's not just when you ask the question, it's not one answer, right?
It never is. But
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
your answer?
Well, my answer is when you put in your dues, like it's a lot of things, right? Because me and you, we talked about this. You show up, number one. You show up on time, number two. You show up in dress code.
Bro, sorry to cut you off. How crazy is it that the beginning things are show up to work?
Now.
What?
Yeah, that's why I would argue work ethic has changed. Because people have figured out how to
100%.
not show up
100%.
And
oh,
still-
they play the game
and
too.
still be employed. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, right, with the call out rate.
Right.
And the reason that they
Especially
call out.
when COVID happened. Because you could be like,
So.
I sneezed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need a week.
You're 100% right.
And then
I
we
think,
go, take 2.
yeah.
Like-
10 days.
Yeah.
That's what you
That's
get.
the minimum or whatever.
I do think COVID and the pandemic and everything that was going on at that time in 2020 accelerated all of this. We literally gave them the excuses.
Yeah, we 100%.
All right.
And there wasn't really an option of not working. You
Not really an option of not working.
That's a whole episode.
So what's the question then? The question is there an option to not work right now?
Yeah, of course.
And absolutely there is. There is
Yo.
an option to not work.
So about 10 years ago, I was in college, and I had
But
never.
he didn't graduate.
Nah, but I'm okay with that. Like I
Neither did I.
yeah, figured it out, right? So I'm in college.
Excuse me? Is this the, beer?
And I'm trying to figure out life. I'm 19, 20,
Still are.
20 years old. Yeah, no one has it figured out,
Nope.
right? It's a process, which is really amazing, by the way, when you think about it, right? Because, like, everyone's like, instant gratification, make me feel good now. It's like, no, I want to work out and go to the gym and see results in 6 to 8 months from now.
We'll get into that, but tell me about school.
So
for
I'm
you.
in college, and I'm working part-time for a major retailer, and someone was like, yo, you should apply for food stamps. Like, they'll give you more than what you need, and then you could sell it. You could sell the food stamps for cash. Okay, it's like everyone knows the hustle. So I apply, and long story short, I'm approved, obviously. And what ended up happening was there was a project in the store that I was working at that required me to be there 40 hours a week. And I took that project on. But because of that project, I worked too many hours, and I didn't qualify necessarily for my food stamps. And Beatriz, she was my caseworker. I would have to check in with her monthly and kind of go over pay stubs. This kind of before, like, everything was like super digital and email and whatever. And one day she's like, hey, you're overqualified. And I was like, what does that mean? And she goes, that means that you didn't qualify this month for food stamps. And I go, okay. And she goes, so unfortunately, like, you know, you didn't get food stamps, but tell your boss you want less hours. Less hours equals more food stamps. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy, because, like, I should be walking out of here with a trophy, a plaque, you know what I mean? Like something to be like, yo, you made it. Like, you did it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need us anymore.
But instead, they want to keep you there.
It felt like I was being pushed on food stamps.
Yeah. Wow. So I was actually just watching a podcast the other day, and this dude that's running for, I think he's running for the House in North Carolina. He was talking about food stamps and welfare.
Let me call and check on my food stamps, honey. I'm tired of eating ramen noodles. This the third, too.
And what we do as a society right now is, like you said, once you make too much money, we cut it off. His idea is, instead of cutting it off, let's incentivize you.
Oh.
Let's pay you a little bit more to go get a job. And then, you know, we'll slowly cut it back as you earn more at your job. And then once you get to a certain point, we just cut it off entirely because you don't need it anymore.
So why is that not being done?
I don't know, because I would imagine in the long run, that's cheaper.
Unless it's by design.
So you think they want to keep you?
I would imagine so, yeah. But let's get back to the video. We'll see what Melissa has to say.
Let's go.
Found a job, you worked at it, you did well, you moved up in the company, or you moved on to more successful or more, I don't know if I want to say better opportunities at other companies.
Yeah. I still agree with
My
that.
parents, like I said, my mom, you know, worked for herself, and my grandmother, they owned a business. My father worked both corporate jobs, and he also worked independently. I think, you know, having that, having a small business is sort of the American dream, being your own boss. My father did that for a while. Wasn't necessarily successful at it, but my father always had a job. He
Bounce back.
sometimes,
Right.
I mean, when I was in high school and things were tough, he worked 3 jobs. He would work 80 hours a week, which led me to have
80
that kind
hours a
of a
week.
work ethic where, you know, if one job wasn't paying the bills, then you got a second job and you supported your family with 2 jobs. You did whatever was necessary to support your family. It has a lot to do with the way people are raised. If their parents had a good, strong work ethic, went to work every day, worked hard, didn't call in sick, you know, worked additional hours or jobs when necessary, that's the kind of children they raise.
I think that's very important. Even me personally, you know, my parents were pretty essentially blue collar people, but worked super hard. My dad was a plumber. That's how dirty it gets. There's a certain type of people that go into plumbing,
Yeah.
you know?
Fertilizer.
Should have been his side hustle.
Yeah.
But actually talking about that, he always had side hustles too
Yeah,
from plumbing. So yeah, he'd be working at his wherever he worked at for plumbing,
Yeah.
but then he'd also pick up side jobs like, yeah, I'll come fix this, I'll come fix that. Always working.
That's
Mom
crazy.
too. Mom was working kind of a more not a corporate job, but like an administration job, and then was going to school for a long time, and then while going to school, while working this job, also waitressing.
A lot of jobs.
Different generations, baby boomers, millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z.
Can you break that down? Are you comfortable breaking that
Nope.
down?
Z, Y.
No, okay. Cut that whole thing out then. Because I thought you knew. I don't know
Who
either.
them Gen X's and
Yeah,
Y's
yeah.
and Z's are?
Gen X is a store
The
on Federal.
alphabets?
I get my pro clubs from Gen X. Yo.
Z now, and kind of what the different work ethics are for those groups. One of the things that I think is interesting is what those different groups value and how those different groups define a good work environment and how they define success. Some of the younger generations get some flack for, wanting more flexibility, for wanting more intrinsic rewards. They like a lot of pats on the back. They want to know that their employers see what they're doing and recognize what they're doing.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I do like being told I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
I don't work hard for being told I'm doing a good job, but when I get that pat on the back, that lets me know I'm on the right track.
Sure.
Right? Because my goal isn't to just be in the same position for my entire career. Like, I want to move up and grow. And so being told, hey, you're doing a great job, if it's genuine, tells me, like, okay, I continue, maintain.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that the pat on the back is being overdone, though.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
It's too many pats on the back.
Yeah, and especially for, like, small things now.
Shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think we all like that. I don't think it's necessarily something that younger generations are exclusive to. There are some differences. I think people of my generation, I think I'm considered Gen X. I think people of my generation and the baby boomer generation believe that you need to work hard, you need to put in extra hours, you need to pay your dues. I think probably baby boomers were more likely to stay at a company longer. I think with Generation X, it became more of you would stay with a company for a while, and then either you would go.
That's a great point, right? Because I think you and I both just learned that loyalty goes both ways.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And I would argue that you felt the same way I did. Like, I'm loyal to this company. And I say this because we both just quit the same company in the last 6 months.
After
10 and 12 years, respectively.
Yeah.
Right? So we had that loyalty to the company. And eventually it got to the point where we realized, like, this company doesn't owe me anything.
I never thought that they owed me anything, though. Did you think that? I thought they owed me, like, structure, balance, like, my paycheck, right? But I didn't feel like they owed me anything. I did feel like I felt like I owed them something. And finding that boundary was difficult.
So I think it's kind of both, right? Like, I felt I owed the company something, especially because, with what we were getting paid relatively well for the job we were doing.
Slight flex.
But also, I felt, hey, I'm doing this job for you. I've got the tenure now. I do kind of feel like I'm owed something from the company.
Like what? Other than a paycheck?
Other than a paycheck, like a little bit more support. Support, I think, would be a big thing for me.
Communication, transparency.
And being able to voice my opinions on things that weren't working without being vilified by people above me because it didn't fit their narrative, right?
Yeah, you would know.
Yeah, I was a little outspoken.
Very vocal.
Continue.
Go independent, or you would move to another company where there was a better opportunity. There's a little bit less loyalty in the world as far as,
for sure,
staying with one company for a longer period of time.
How does that affect work ethic? Excuse me.
I
Less
think,
loyalty, staying within one organization, one company, one institution.
Yeah, I think at this point people are like, they're not looking at the company that they're at and thinking like, I'm gonna just work here and grind and be the CEO one day. Instead, they're looking at it like, I'm gonna do exactly what I have to do to be successful enough to go to the next place.
That's a good take.
In my lifetime, I think entrepreneurship has definitely grown. People want to have their own companies, invent their own things. I think.
So real quick, so she talks about entrepreneurialism and how it's grown and how people want that. And I think that, like, within, if we look within, that's what we want. We want to be our own bosses. We want to have our own empires. We want to, create like generational wealth, right?
Sure.
How come that's not being taught? Like we're not. I can't remember a class
there
in
was
school,
never
high school, college where like that's actually a thing. Like, no one taught us entrepreneurialism.
No, and there was a couple like business classes.
Sure. To check the box.
Yeah,
right?
they didn't teach me much. I wasn't paying a lot of attention. But I don't. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They do not teach entrepreneurialism, and there's probably a reason for that, right? Maybe we don't want to spend the money to hire somebody that could teach entrepreneurialism, but it could go deeper than that too.
Yeah.
And I feel like you might have something to add to that.
We could save that for.
You want to save that for a little wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The younger generations, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, tend to think of things like flexibility, in work hours, let's say. I grew up thinking that you needed to work extra hours, you needed to put in that extra time.
I grew up thinking that.
As a way of paying your dues. I think millennials and Gen Y are more likely to think, if I can get my job done in fewer hours, I'm being more efficient with my time. Shouldn't I?
So there's a time and a place for having hours that people are required to work, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, retail is a place because anything that is customer oriented, you have to be open a certain amount of time. So
availability.
Exactly. So that your customer. But think about it. Banks. Yeah. They work 9 to 5.
Isn't it called banker's hours? Isn't that
it's literally called banker's hours, right? Because they're open till noon. On Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And
God forbid.
And I think that those kind of businesses do require more broad hours, and they do require people working the 8 to 5 or the 6 to 3, whatever it is, right? I think there's a lot of jobs though that don't require that. And the difference is that those people that go work the 8 to 5, the 6 to 3, the noon to 10, whatever it is, they get paid by the hour, just like the construction guy that works until there's no more work to do. But the difference is he doesn't get paid when the work's done.
Right.
Like he works, he gets paid by the hour, and when the work's done, he goes home.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And he can't just be like, well, give me some more work then.
Yeah. So
that's...
Go ahead.
That's entirely on his boss to be like, all right, I'll give you some more work.
Right. To continue to develop.
And knowing that I got to pay this guy now.
So how does that affect work ethic?
So when you're working that 8 to 5 at one of these customer-oriented places where you have to be open that amount of time frame, as the worker, you're not thinking, oh, I've got to get so much done. You're thinking like, I've got to kill 8 hours.
Yeah. It's so funny because where I work right now, my boss is like, do this, and this. And if that's done, you can go home.
Which is how it should be, right?
Bro, I go home early every day.
How early?
Like, pretty early. But I work, I would argue I do more than what the average person does.
I've seen what you do. I think you're absolutely right.
Like, I'm more incentivized by time than my payroll.
Because what's more important?
To me, time. Because I can make money back, but I can't make time back. Time's undefeated.
Absolutely. Yeah. Time is finite.
100%.
Yep.
100%. So, yeah. Interesting. So we're living in a world where we're, kind of working under... We structured it 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 2 days off. How is that impacting work ethic? Because I haven't done too much research on this, but I saw somewhere in like Europe they're thinking about going to 4 days a week.
And the crazy thing about Europe too is like vacation time. They give like the standard is like a month. Yeah. We had to work 5 years, I think 5 years just to get 3 weeks, and the next week was after 15.
Yeah, the flip side to that though, is that some of these countries are paying for that literally. Like like Greece,
Yeah.
right? Like the amount of austerity, like their taxes are like 60%.
So yeah,
there,
I mean,
right?
I mean, somebody's always got to pay for it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, someone is paying
Sure.
for it.
So
whether it's us through our taxes, or it's the government,
Yeah.
or someone else, right?
Yeah.
Someone's paying for it.
So in terms of work ethic though, you're saying like, because for me, I look at the clock and I go, shit, I'm off at 2. I have so much more work to do. While I feel like a lot of people are like, how
break
can I-
that down. Hang on, break that down a little
Like
bit.
I'd rather work really, really hard and leave early or on time, right? But know that I got my job done, versus some people who look at the clock and they go, how do I kill 4 more hours?
Right. And that's what happens though when you have a set task list
Sure.
to accomplish
Yeah.
for the day.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I can finish this and I get to go home, versus, hey, you're stuck here for 8 hours regardless.
And I think the bigger point is I want to finish this so I can take this on, and then I can take that on, and then I can finish this, and then I go home. Other people are like, why would I do more work? Because when I finish it, there's more work coming.
Yeah,
Like more,
yeah,
like,
which is exactly what she said, right?
point, yeah,
Back in the
yeah,
day,
yeah, yeah.
they would say, well, I got some more work for it. Time to
Yeah,
lean,
yeah.
time to clean, right?
yeah.
Get some more flexibility in my time. People of my generation would say, well, then we'll give you more work to do. And I think that's definitely a problem. A little bit more casual work environment is definitely something that younger generations appreciate and value as a way.
How casual is too
I was
casual?
gonna say,
you know?
give me an inch and I'll take
It's
a
gotten-
mile. Like,
and this is where our perspective differs, I think, from Melissa's, because
which is okay.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're out there dealing with these people that, for example, are calling out all the time or not getting the work done, and we're giving the corporations are giving them a lot of excuses. Like, for example, to fire somebody is a long process. Back in the day,
just
it
fire
was
them.
like, I don't really like you.
People
You're-
are
you're
protecting,
gone.
which I don't think is a bad thing, but I think like associates are catching on to that and they're taking advantage of.
Right, because the opposite would be people taking advantage of firing people for the wrong reasons. So there's got to be a balance there.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, how does that come back to work ethic?
Well, when it comes back to work ethic, is that when I give you all of these excuses to not show up to work, to not get your job done, you're more inclined to lean into that and be like, what's going to happen?
Right.
There's
So-
no consequences.
So work ethic has declined over time.
Absolutely. I mean, I said that at the beginning.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
100%. And,
Yeah.
and I think it happens every generation. The difference now, I think, is that it's being accelerated.
Why?
I think due to things like human resource programs, which again, like, those protect the company, not the person. But at the same time, things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
human resources
Yeah.
have accelerated it.
Technology.
But more importantly, I think the pandemic has had a lot to do with it.
But before that, technology, social
Technology,
media,
absolutely.
Amazon Prime.
Yes.
DoorDash.
And I want to talk about all those things.
Yeah, we can get into that.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Way of saying this is a good company to work for. I don't know if there's really been an increase or a decrease in work ethic in my lifetime. I think, work in general has changed. Work used to be, you worked 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 and you got an hour for lunch and that was it. That's what you wanted. You wanted a 9 to 5 steady job that paid the bills and gave you 2 weeks vacation and sick pay and some holidays, paid, and that was the ideal.
I feel like though that's just like saying that work has changed. That's like changing the goalposts.
Right. Like moving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is important and what is ideal has changed in my lifetime. I think work flexibility, having a different culture. We never talked about culture.
How do you feel about that word?
I hate that word.
Me too.
I love cultures. I love different cultures. I
Yeah.
hate that corporate word culture.
It got hijacked.
Hey, oh yeah.
The word got hijacked. Because
Uh-huh.
when I think of culture, you from Chicago,
Lot of culture out there, bro.
Yeah, I lived in New York. I lived in New
Lot
Jersey.
of culture out
You know,
there.
my dad's from Trinidad.
You've
so
been all over too.
all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So culture to me is like this very like protected thing, and I'm very passionate about it. And all of a sudden, these like major corporations that we worked for, they were like, "What about our sales culture?" And we're like, "That's not a thing." Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that because, like, when people at work, when you're interviewing for a job or something, and they're like, "Well, what makes you passionate about work?" And I'm not passionate.
This is facts.
I'm not passionate about work.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to be passionate about. I have to do a good job.
Yeah.
And do my job properly
Yeah.
and support all the people beneath me,
Yeah.
which is great.
You
But
can
what is
work your ass off and not like call it culture.
exactly
Yeah.
what is passion for me is the things I do outside of work that really make me happy.
Like what?
Like things like woodworking, things like YouTube videos, things like going camping, things like spending time with my wife, spending time with my dogs. Like
I want to talk about all those things. So like camping, woodworking, the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
These things take time.
absolutely,
You
yeah.
can't
These
just-
are
you can't just be fulfilled on a like, right? Like these things take a lot of time. Like setting these things up, whether it's woodworking, you have to like,
patience.
yeah. It takes a long time for you to be like you have to love the process, which is why people fucking hate working.
And what did we talk about earlier? Time is finite.
Can't make it.
So
back.
if I've got to spend my time working or doing what I'm passionate about, which by the way, both of those things can be working. Both of those things are still work ethic.
Yeah, facts.
Right?
Facts. That's what's up.
So if I've got to spend my time doing one or the other, what I want to do
Is
is my passion.
The thing that fulfills you.
But I also understand that I have responsibilities.
Yeah, you have to pay bills and all these things. So I would argue that like if you are woodworking or you are camping or you're doing a podcast, you're working is what you're saying. That's work ethic, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're not working in a
It's
corporation.
fun, but it's work.
But I would say people who do that more probably have better work ethic within like a corporate
Yeah,
setting.
because you have to have self-discipline at that point because you
Yes.
can't just rely on your boss telling you do this, do this,
Yeah,
do this.
yeah.
Deadlines.
Which is
You have to impose your own deadlines.
And like between me and you and y'all, you were really successful within that corporate structure. Like you made it, you climbed the ladder all the way to the top. No pun
I didn't get
intended.
all the way to the
No,
top.
but
you know,
you were like knocking on the
I
door.
did a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah.
You did a good job too.
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
at the same level.
But we have the same amount of like we're doing this. We do things outside of this. Like we have good work ethic, right? Like,
and it's not saying that you have to do all those things all at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
But today it's this, next week it's that.
Sure.
Whatever.
we're not just on the
And that's okay.
couch watching TV all day, eating. You know,
And you know what? There's a time and a place for that.
absolutely.
100%.
After this.
No, after this is the bar.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
And
also
then
work ethic.
After
right?
the
Like
show
this-
is the after party.
Yo, we didn't plan this shit out.
Didn't R. Kelly say that?
Yeah.
After the show was the
gotta
after
cut
party
this
then.
short.
After the party is the hotel lobby
We're on a
then.
tangent.
All
Let's
right.
go. All right, ready?
What is important and what is ideal has changed. When I was first going into the workforce, that was never something we talked about. You went to work, you did what the boss said, and you complained about it when you got home, and that's how it was. And now I think, we talk about things like, well, how do you feel when you're at work? What kind of environment is it? Is it a environment that makes you feel like you want to produce more, that you want to spend more time there? Well, overall, I don't think that work ethic has changed much over time. I think what people value has changed over time. Thanks for having me. It was really nice to talk to you.
Melissa, thank you so much for
thank
being
you,
on.
Melissa. Shout out to Melissa. Appreciate
That was
you.
awesome. We don't 100% agree with everything you say, but that is
Yeah.
the whole point of what we're doing here right now
Yeah.
is we want to hear everyone's perspectives.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree. By the way, I agree with like most of what
Yeah,
she said.
yeah. I mean, she was pretty on point. I think there was a couple things that, maybe we don't fully agree on, but yeah, she nailed it. Bro, that was the podcast right there. That's
Fire.
episode 2. We cut it
Fire.
right now. We're done.
Fire. We out of here. Thank you, Melissa.
Melissa, you
Work
killed
ethic.
it.
We
Thank
get to
you
go
so
home early,
much.
right? Like, yes. No, but I would argue my only pushback, Melissa, would be that I think work ethic has changed, and I wouldn't necessarily blame the people who have made work ethic decline. I think that there's layers to all of this. So let's break down those layers. So, what do you want to get into next?
Well, I think the number one thing that would be on people's minds right now is pay, right?
Okay.
We know that pay has not kept up with inflation.
Oh, okay.
And that's important. And what accelerated this, we talked about this with COVID. We touched on it a little bit. With COVID, next thing you knew, McDonald's and the burger joint over there, they were paying $17, $18 an hour here in Denver to go flip burgers. Meanwhile, at the corporation we were working at, we were starting at 15. But when you look at these fast food places that are paying that much money for you to come flip burgers and serve people,
Can I make a Krabby Patty now?
it felt like we couldn't keep up.
I guess what you're saying is inflation hits our paychecks last. It hits everything first.
Yeah.
Inflation hits our expenses first, right? It hits our gas, which we're experiencing right now. Not because of necessarily inflation, but mainly sanctions. But in the housing market, milk, right? Like all these other things. But like inflation is skyrocketing. You know what's not keeping up with it is our payroll, right? Our paycheck. So how does that affect work ethic? Are you less likely to like try your best when you're like, why even bother?
I did my best.
Yeah. So me personally, no. I would say no, even though. Well, so let me go back a little bit, right? Because I'm at a point now where I'm comfortable, right? I'm comfortable in life, but I worked at it.
Yeah, you earned it.
You know.
Yeah.
But there was times too when I was living off of maybe $20 a week.
Yeah.
Right. And I was never like I had enough support around me that I was never gonna be homeless, right? I was never gonna go without food, but I also wasn't reaching out to people unless I absolutely had to.
Yeah,
like I wasn't gonna be eating for 5 days if I didn't get $20 from somebody, right?
So how do you think, like when we look at inflation, how do you think inflation has affected work ethic?
So I think people feel like they're not getting paid well enough.
Like they're not being compensated for what they're doing?
Right, because they can look across the street and say, oh, that place is paying $2 more an hour.
Which is a big deal.
Which is a big deal in your weekly
them,
paycheck.
yeah,
The problem is that I don't think these people are always looking ahead. I don't think, because we talked about it before, we don't teach this in schools. I was never taught about a 401k. Even at work, it took someone to like put their arm around me and be like, hey,
why is it not taught?
you need to pay into this.
Why is it not taught?
And they're absolutely right, because when I look at my 401k now, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
like I'm worth something.
Well,
Right? On paper, I'm worth
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah, not
clarification.
not as like a person.
yeah. But why is that not taught? Is it not taught because we could do better and we haven't figured it out, or is it by design?
I'm not saying it's not by design. I think it's funding. Like, think about, like, Melissa said it herself. She taught at public schools and private schools. Private schools get more funding. Well, people from private schools tend to go into business and shit like that and have 401ks right off the bat because they already know about it. They were already taught about it by somebody, whether it was at their school or their parents who likely are already doing well because they're putting them through a private school.
So money
Money. It always everything comes back to money.
or power?
Money and power.
Yeah. I would say it's not money. I would say it's power.
Okay. But I
we-
think of the scale we're looking at, I
Sure.
think it's more money.
Yeah. One of the things that has changed significantly, and Melissa, love your take. Work ethic, number one. Number two is this thing they call it. What do they call it? Like instant gratification or whatever.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that like instant gratification has a direct correlation or impact on work ethic. And, like,
We've created it from when you look at things from food delivery to
DoorDash.
Amazon,
Okay, yeah.
all that shit, to instant downloads, to Netflix releasing the entire.
Instead of opening the newspaper and being like, I'm gonna go to the movies and like planning your whole week around a movie theater, right? Like that used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Now there's Netflix and Hulu.
Back in the day, if there I go, bro. Back in the day, I just said it.
Yo, you're becoming old.
I'm getting old.
You walked
So-
uphill both ways in the snow.
When I was growing up, you know, when you had a TV show that you liked to watch, you had to wait until the day and time that it came out. There was no binge watching anything. There was binge eating and binge drinking.
You're nice.
That's all we had.
You couldn't just skip through like 3/4 of the whole season and binge watch the end, right? Like, yeah. That's facts.
And so when you're at work, you want the recognition now.
The success
You
now.
want the extra pay now. Yeah. No one owes you anything. And I think that's important. I think that's the opposite side of kind of what we're talking about, right? That's the corporate side. The corporation doesn't owe you anything. And you need to understand that to play the game. Right?
Yes, I would give you a little pushback.
Okay.
I don't think there should be a law, but if inflation is accelerating, I feel like our pay should also increase.
Absolutely.
That's a different conversation, but it's still...
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
But the company itself
No.
doesn't owe you more pay.
Nobody owes you
just
anything.
because you want it.
Sure.
Just because you felt like you worked
The
hard
nerve,
enough,
right?
right?
Yeah.
And that's part of when you're at work, building relationships, right?
Yeah.
So when you build relationships with the people above you at work, and you don't have to do it sleazy. You don't have
Say
to
it
get in.
again?
You don't have to do it sleazy.
Right.
You don't have to get in bed with these people, right?
Is that what you used to do?
Bruh. If you don't let me finish this point, it's going to be a different episode.
Okay, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
It's just Nigel and me sleep. Wait.
Okay, go.
Anyway.
Nothing's owed to you.
Nothing's owed to you, and
have
that
to
doesn't
earn
mean that you have to
everything.
get in dirty with these people to build relationships with them, right? It just means that you have to build a relationship, at least a work-friendly relationship, so that they know that your name's on the map. So that in the future, when they're like looking at raises and they're looking at promoting people, your name's on the
You're
table.
on the slate, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so back to instant gratification. Oh my God, I think to give a little pushback on again on Melissa, right? Like, I think work ethic has changed, and I think she's right too. She said,
Values have changed.
Values
Yes,
have
what
changed.
you want from the workplace. Yeah.
But I think those things are not mutually exclusive. Like, they're directly tied, to, to one another. And so I guess I would just say, like, I feel like I'm an old soul because I go to work and I roll my sleeves up and I'm okay. Like, I'm good to get down and dirty, and if I bleed, I throw a little dirt in my wound. And
and sometimes those are like the best days.
100%
at work, right? Like, you feel accomplished.
Yeah. So those are really the best days, though, right?
Yeah.
The days where you come home and you feel a sense of accomplishment.
That's important.
What happened? What changed?
I think, especially larger corporations have, and actually there's two parts I want to get into here. So the larger corporations have relaxed a little bit on being hard on people.
I am hard, but I am fair.
Right. So,
Society.
So as a manager, you can no longer go up to somebody that's not performing and say, "What the fuck are you doing?"
You had best unfuck yourself, or I will unscrew your head and shut down your neck.
Why did you think that was okay? And I get it. I don't, even as a manager now, I don't necessarily always want to say that, but there are times where, you know what, sometimes I feel like I got to be a little extra and let this person understand it. But no, we don't want to do that because I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Is that the person's fault? Or is
It's
that
not
the
the person's
culture?
fault. The culture
The word that we hate
has
to use.
created this,
Yeah.
right? When you look at mom and pop shops, like mom and pop shops are actually some of the most fun places to work at because you get a lot more freedom. The problem is they don't have the stability that the large corporations have.
Of course not.
Right? So they can't necessarily pay for your health care or your 401k and things like that. So there's not a lot of growth there. But they have that actual culture that makes you want to work there.
Yes. Okay, I'm okay with you using the word culture when it comes to mom and pop
Right,
shops.
because
I actually support that.
It literally is a family and feels like a family.
Okay, let me ask you this. In terms of instant gratification and work ethic, I guess one of the things that like really, really bothers me, I seen a decline. Even though I was born in 1990, I've seen a decline within just like our generation, right? Like within
which is normal,
which is fair, right? Every generation sees that, but I feel like it exponentially declined.
Yep.
And I would argue that like technology and the things that you brought up earlier, DoorDash, Amazon Prime, all these things that we can have right now fulfill us. But really, we're not really being fulfilled. Does that make sense? Like, the things that fulfill us are also the things that take a long time to achieve. Like, health.
The things that really fulfill you.
The things that really matter. Health, self-respect.
Building relationships. Job fulfillment, right? All these things. You can't just click on a little button and somebody goes, oh, I like it. Like, those things take time and effort. And I feel like we don't love the process anymore. We just love the outcome. How do we get back to, like, loving the process? Yeah, I mean, we would have to navigate the whole technological world of being friends with people, right? Because I think that's kind of
outside of technology, though, like face-to-face friendships.
Yeah, it's a lost art, and it's difficult, especially because think about it. Like, we work together, we're friends. We have other friends that we work together, but at a certain point, you kind of like when you start at a place, you don't really want to make friends with the people you work with because you don't know where it's going to go, and you don't want the repercussions if something goes bad in your workplace. You want to be able to keep your job, but also that's where you spend most of your time.
Yeah, facts.
Unless you have a lot of hobbies that are very social outside of work, you might not meet a lot of other people. So it's very important. It's very important that you are okay with making friends at work.
I think you're good at that. Actually, no. You're not.
I'm not
really
good
bad at that.
Yeah.
I'm good at that.
You can do it. I don't like talking to
You
people.
got better. You got better.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm on a podcast. I hate talking to
You're
people.
not a podcast. No, you're the real deal. No, I think that's a great point. Relationships are important when it comes to being productive, right? Because, like, even now where I work, we're not friends outside of work, the people that I work with, but we have a good relationship within, right? Like what we do, and we work really, really hard. And what we do is physical work. It's not like not to knock that. That's important too, right? To sit behind
our country runs on that shit.
100%, to an extent. But not to knock that. I'm just saying, like, we kind of went away from that, and now we're leaning more into technology. And I think that while that's important, I think it's hurting us more than it's benefiting us. So, like think back to when you were young. How many phone numbers did you have memorized?
A lot. I had, like, my parents. I had my buddies. I had the house's phone number. So many phone numbers.
Did you know your own?
I knew my own phone number.
Okay. Yeah. And compared to now?
Now I know my wife's phone number.
Yeah. Do you know your own?
I still know my own phone number. Yeah.
You've evolved.
But it's funny you say that because it's like that to me. That's brain cells that we now don't have to remember. So I don't have to remember phone numbers because it is in my. It's like when you were a kid and they were like, oh well, you have to do all of your math homework on paper because you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket. Guess what? The calculator also remembers the phone numbers.
At the very least, I'm exercising my brain. My job right now, it requires me to travel. And I asked my boss, I go, how do I get to, a specific destination? And she goes, I don't know, I just follow. And I'm like, really, like, what's the shortest way with no tolls? And she's like, I don't know, I just follow GPS. And I'm like,
yeah, that's how.
Yeah, but like one day that GPS won't go there because you didn't take the time to actually just figure out where you live, where you have to go, how you have to get there, which way to go. And so I look at it like, for me, I'm just, at the very least, I'm exercising my brain. I go there one time. If I have to go back next week.
Basically doing a Sudoku in your head, trying to drive somewhere.
Pretty much. But like next week when I go back, twice, right? Let's say I go to this place once and I go back the second time. The second time, I don't need the GPS.
Okay.
Because now I know how to get there. I'm exercising my brain. I think that's important. I think when you become too dependent on technology, it affects work ethic.
Okay. I think
that's just my take.
That's a good point. Yeah. Now, I think, again, this is kind of talking more about like corporations, I guess, because anybody that has an HR
background
group is at a corporation. I don't know a lot of mom and pops, small places that have HR, right?
Yeah.
But I think HR has also done it. And remember, HR protects the company. They don't protect you, the worker.
Elaborate on that. That's interesting.
Which part? Protect the worker?
Yeah.
Or not
Because you
protect the
think it
worker?
protects you.
Yeah, so some companies do have an AR, which is associate
I have
relations.
an AR.
That is what protect.
Oh.
I also have many
Different.
ARs. That is what protects the person working.
Oh wait, that's
HR.
like what's that called?
A union.
That's also called a union.
It's like a union.
It's like a union,
but it's not a union.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
AR protects the person working. HR protects the company, and the people that are working at the company don't always realize that, and they think that if they go to HR and voice a complaint,
It'll solve all their problems.
right? And really, what actually happens when someone goes to HR?
You just shot yourself in the
You
foot.
get put on a list.
The list that like will never promote you. There's no more growth or development.
Yeah.
Because like you're basically what's that called? There's like a saying, you bit the hand that fed you or whatever. Like that's what you're doing. You're shitting on the company that's taking care of you.
And the reason is because the company wants you to play the game. Right?
What does that mean?
They don't want any heat. They don't want the smoke, right? And so when you start bringing up these issues, they want to quiet
Too much
you.
too much controversy.
Yeah.
So how does that affect work ethic?
So the reason that HR affects work ethic is because now we have all these different managers in place in a company, right? And what happens is everyone's got all their own opinions and ideas and ways of how things should be done. And so when this manager doesn't agree with this manager, maybe this one is tough and this one's very lenient. Now there's an issue, and maybe they're tough and lenient on different people, and so these people need to be protected.
So the inconsistency from the management team.
The reason this created a less work ethic is because it imposed all of these restraints on what you can do as a manager. So now you can no longer go to someone working and say, hey, you're slow, you're doing a bad job, which I don't think that's a good managerial approach, but sometimes you have to be able to save those things, right? Yeah. But taking that away from you, putting a muzzle on your face and saying, hey, you know what? If you're going to have this conversation with someone, you got to get HR involved first. It slows the process down.
We saw
and it
that
continues
happen.
that.
We saw that happen particularly after COVID.
Yeah, again, COVID accelerated all this.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yo, so to wrap up what you're saying, the manager's hands are tied as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. We just kind of do what we have to because we also want to keep our jobs. We also want to
check the box. So work ethic affects the managers as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it puts more, because as the manager, you're responsible for what happens regardless. So.
And then it kind of like falls down.
Yeah. So when the work doesn't get done, you still have to go make sure it
gets
done.
Who is the responsibility really fall on? The person that clocks in and is like here to work and maybe is not producing, or the leadership team?
If the person that's here to work and clocks in has a good work ethic, they will accept that responsibility and they will be a good worker. But ultimately, if they don't, that responsibility falls on the manager.
Okay, cool. So at least there's accountability, or there should be accountability.
There absolutely should be accountability.
But let me ask you this:
we've taken that away?
We have taken it away, and I think I know where it kind of went away. I remember being a kid, and I think I don't know if it was under I think it was the Bush administration, but they passed this thing called what was it? No Child Left Behind.
Oh yeah.
And around that same time, kids were getting participation trophies, and the parents were like, you're special, you could be anything you want to be. And while I appreciate the optimism, it's not a realistic thing, right? So is it the kids' fault?
No.
Or is it, not to blame the parents, but is it society as a whole?
It's all that. It's the parents, it's society. Melissa talked about it as well with parenting. Parents, you gotta have some responsibility, which really responsibility is what drives work ethic.
Facts.
Right? So
to your point, work ethic is not just at work, It's also being at home,
Right.
washing your car, doing your laundry, cleaning the dishes. That's responsibility.
Whatever those other responsibilities
Showing up
are.
to work on time, all these things fall under that. Yeah.
And we just, kind of
Went
ignore
away,
those things
went away
now.
from it.
Yeah.
So work ethic has changed.
Yeah.
Melissa, we want you on part 2. We want to hear your response. Let's go. Okay, so around that, one of the things that I thought about while you were talking about responsibility was that as these kids, us, right, the millennials, we were promised the world.
Yeah.
We're not victims at all, right? I would say we were dealt a shitty card, but all of a sudden what happens is we get thrown into the real world. When I say we, I'm talking about an entire generation of people, right? Yeah. We get thrown into this world where we don't have skills. We don't have the tools that we need to actually make it, right? Because we've been told this whole time, you can do anything you want. If you want to be an astronaut, you can do whatever you want to do.
I want to be a fire truck.
And realistically, that's not the case. So what that does then is it kind of creates like a new generation of like people like with low self-esteem because they were told the whole time you could be anything you want.
Bro.
And now you're not that. So what happens then?
You are absolutely right about all of that.
Yeah.
So that creates a generation of people that say, for what? I'm doing this for what? Because we've been told and trained that we're not doing this for money. We're doing this because we want to do something we love. Instead of being told that, hey, work doesn't have to be what you love. Work can be work, and passions can be passions. And you can separate those two and still have a good life.
Yes, bro. Now couple that with, for instance, you and I graduated in 2008, right? No one told us, like, they all go, you can do anything you want to do. And then what happened in 08?
The housing crash.
No one told us, like, by the way, this is a really bad time to be a young adult. Like, no one was like, hey, maybe don't take that student loan right now.
Yeah.
Like,
chill man, we could get into that.
Go.
Nah, that's for another
time.
episode. But yeah.
But for real though, like, so now we're thrown into this world, and we're not victims at all because me and you figured it out. Like, we have. This
we're still figuring it out, but
everyone, hopefully every responsible, mature adult, which is putting a lot on us, because that's not what we the nerve.
Responsible is a loose word.
Yeah, I guess I would say that. You couple that with technology, you couple that with again DoorDash, Amazon Prime, copy and paste something, all these shortcuts, right? We don't know what it's like to really go through the process. Like, we expect this thing called instant gratification, and we want it right now, and that's kind of been normalized. How do we slow that down?
I don't think we need to slow it down. I think that those things are important, and they're very important to society, so like taking it away would be a detriment, right? I think especially with the generation we have now, and even our generation, even me personally, like if you took all that shit away, I'd be like, fuck.
Yeah, but just to expand on that, like again, right? Instant gratification is this thing where, like, I almost want delayed gratification.
Yeah, because we do like that. You want to,
That's
like,
what I mean.
when you work hard for something over time and then you get the gratification, that's when it feels earned.
Have you ever noticed the same thing that you hate, you actually love the result of? Meaning, like I hate going to bed early, but I love waking up and feeling good.
Right.
I hate going to the gym, bro. I hate that shit.
But when you're done, you feel good.
Blood is rushing into your muscles, and that's what we call a pump.
I love that. I hate studying for an exam or whatever.
But when you pass, you feel good.
So like we figured out a way to hate the process and then like speed it up. And now we don't really know what it's like to like have work ethic because of instant gratification.
Because we don't have to put the work in.
We take shortcuts.
Get that A.
So how do we slow it down?
I don't know that you can slow it down at this point.
It's very hard. Very hard, yeah.
I guess if we were gonna slow it down, it would come from teaching, and
shout out Melissa.
I think when you're teaching these impressionable kids, I think you would have to remove some of their handicaps.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's fire.
Because and you know, I don't think I showed it, but Melissa talked about this too, about like all the different technology and apps that they use, and there's pluses and minuses to using both. But you know, back in the there I go again. Back in the day, when you had to have at least 5 sources, and God forbid you use Wikipedia, you had to put some work in. You weren't allowed to just go online and find the first article that came out. It had to say .gov or .edu at the end of it to be able to.
Library.
A what?
Yeah. I'll teach you later.
Okay.
Books.
Library. They just tell lies, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know that there's a way that we can slow it down. I think at this point, instead of slowing down, it's more change course.
Yeah.
So what things do you think you can't get right now from instant gratification?
Yeah, stuff that can't really be monetized.
Yeah.
Like stuff that you can't buy. You can't buy self-confidence. You can't buy happiness. You can't buy job fulfillment. You can't buy relationships. You can't buy health, love, all these things. Those are things that that we truly want, but are disguised, with likes and DoorDash and Amazon Prime and Netflix and all these things. So we feel like we're fulfilled. Probably more so than ever before in any generation. We are more fulfilled because it's right there at our fingertips.
We're more immediately fulfilled.
100%. Yeah, great distinguishment. However, I don't think we are. When you peel back the layers, when you close the door at night and it's just you in the mirror and you look at yourself and you go, that's not really what I want.
Yeah. And we also still have those same days where we wake up and go, fuck, I gotta pay that bill, and I gotta do this and do that. I still have these responsibilities.
Yeah.
And we stress out about that shit too.
100%.
You know? You probably saw what Kim Kardashian said recently. Right? And she said, get your fucking ass up and work.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work.
And it's kind of funny, like, hearing that from her, because, like, in your mind, you're like, well, what the fuck has Kim Kardashian done to work? But I think she also gets a lot of hate for that statement specifically, without people realizing how difficult it is to stay relevant for so long. Right?
Yeah,
that takes work ethic.
Yeah. Like a lot of people, and I don't know this for sure, I would just imagine a lot of people who have like bad publicity, they can't handle it. But Kim is like, yo, I want all the smoke. I'll take good publicity, like any publicity is good.
But I think she's just an easy target, right? Because we've liked to hate her for so long.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't hate her. I don't have an opinion on her.
The last thing I want to talk about is
that it on Kim?
That's it on Kim.
Okay.
Last thing I want to talk about is how did our generation and the generations before us create this? I feel like we all had something to do with it. Right?
Yeah, I think we touched on it, right? I think that it's safe to say that majority of the people feel that the next generation has it easier, and I think that's a consequence of technology. I would love to have more of a balance between like hard work and technology, and I feel like we're very dependent on technology, and it's actually making us less productive in the workplace, specifically around like hard labor.
So I got one last thing I want to talk on, and I think this is important, right? Because we talked about how did we create this? We created this work ethic that is diminishing, and our generations before us did the same thing, and now it's accelerating, right? How many times have you heard someone say, I work hard so my kids don't have to?
A lot.
Because that's like, going back to the American dream and stuff like that. Like that's the goal. You don't want your, but I don't know that I agree with that.
So you're enabling your kids,
right?
It feels like the message is coming from a good.
I get the idea, but I think it might be a detriment.
Sure.
I think
it's like technology.
I think the better phrase would be, I work hard so my kids don't want.
Yeah.
But I still want them to work hard.
Yeah.
Right?
There has to be a balance. Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway I have from the whole conversation. There has to be more balance around working hard, using technology, and like figuring out kind of how to navigate your way through a world that we live in now, which is different from ever before, and being successful in it. One of the things that I thought about the other day was I told when I was kind of climbing the ladder in the job that we had, I talked to one of the managers, and I go, don't work too hard. Just like on the way out.
Yeah, it's like a joke you say to somebody.
And no, but so we would say that all the time, and you know what he said? He goes, "What?" And I'm sure like he said this a million times, but he goes, "Then what's the point? Why am I here?"
Yeah, bro, that's a very good point.
And I was like, and literally like we had a joke after that. I was like, "Yo, work hard," and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "How many push-ups can you do?" I was like, "A lot." He was like, "I could do one more than you."
Just that little extra.
But that like
get it.
Yeah. 100%.
There's one person in my career that was really inspirational to me is somebody that helped me start the process of building a career when I didn't realize I could do that, right? And
by the way, you were that for me.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, my man.
And he said to me, I was like, "Tom, why do you work so hard?" And it's not that he worked physically hard, but he was, there in your face every day, helping, coaching, training. And I was like, "Why do you work so hard?" And he said, "I get paid more than anyone else in this building. It's my job to work hard."
That's fire.
Right? Because if he's not working hard, why should we work hard?
Yeah, set the example.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That says a lot about him and you, right? Because you are also a byproduct of work ethic.
Well, and even at that point, like, I had work ethic, but I had no direction.
Structure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, I needed someone to say, "Hey, these are the goals, go get it." And I was like, "I get it now. I'm going to go get it." And I got it.
We all need a Tom. No MySpace, but yeah, that's what's up. We touched on two major topics: work ethic and instant gratification. How would you kind of summarize some of those things? What are your takeaways?
So look, there's a lot of sides to things that affect work ethic, and we realize that. At the end of the day, I still think that the lack of work ethic is being accelerated, and there's a lot of things that affect that. And do we know? No, probably not, but I would say that things like responsibility are going away, like with work and with home. I think
it almost seems like the standard is not what it used to be.
No, we keep lowering it.
Yeah, and then we
lower the bar. Yeah.
Okay, what about so that's work ethic. What about instant gratification?
Instant gratification, people want it, they want it now. And that goes the same for work, and it goes the same for pay. People want to get paid more, they want to get paid more right now. They don't want to have to do the work to get paid more.
Is this reversible, or are we down a path of destruction, self-destruction?
I think it has to be reversible, because if it's not, like, we're headed for some rough times.
I hate to hear that, but I think your take is 100% on point. It seems like we're going down a path that's inevitable. I don't know if it's by design. You guys comment on that. Are we being designed this way? Are we being socially engineered, or is this just a consequence of technology and kind of the state that we live in? One of the things that I want to do real quick, I wanted to thank the people who subscribed, liked, and commented on our video. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. Nothing but love. There's levels to work ethic in America. And stay tuned. If you guys didn't know, we didn't know either. We have more research. RJ, get us out of here.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, let's drink. Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of... Fucked it up already. Cook It Slow. Oh, I almost had it. Okay.
Let it marinate.
We're bringing more food for thought than Gordon Ramsay. We're bringing more flavor than an episode. Okay, and don't use none of this bullshit in the video. No, definitely. I already know your ass. We gotta look polished. Firing on all cylinders. Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Guys Grocery Game. Guys Grocery Game. Guys Grocery Game. Our cuisine. No, I fucked it up with the gun.
At this point.